Greetings, Manchester. You're in tune to the search engine. Legacy 90.1. Big shout goes out to the one and only dancing DJ, Tiny G. Drive time. Okay. Show for this evening.
When publicly or privately come to me.
I'm going to dare to say that we're going to be making a little bit of history this evening, in some way or the other. My guest this evening, last time she was on the show, I think it was about 4 weeks ago, talking about Marcia Hutchinson. Came on with other candidates that were standing in the area of Collyhurst and Ancoats, or Ancoats and Collyhurst. We had the election on the 6th of May, and Marcia won. And she's back with us today. She's going to talk to us about the election, what it was like, her plans for the future. A lot more questions, yeah? But we're going to get into that as soon as we go over and speak to Marcia. We're also going to be joined with Marcia by Sharlene Small. And Sharlene is the director of Manchester's Got Talent Youth, a group that works with young people, helps them to bring out the best that they can, works with them from where they're at, with what they want to achieve. Again, Sharlene will tell us much more about Manchester's Got Talent Youth when she comes on. Now, first of all, yeah, what I want to do before I start this show, just to bring you into kind of line with why I say it's a bit of an historical moment for me anyway, with the position that Marcia's in. We have had councillors before, but I think Marcia is a different kind of councillor. I want to play you just a little bit of a clip, yeah, from the last show where Marcia was on, when I said, you know, just send out some messages to people about yourself and what you want them to know, for you to expect from you as a councillor. And yeah, just listen to this and get involved. As you know, the contact text number 07, if I know, 07599642626. So you can send in the texts. You can give us a call, 01612225636 also. But this is Marcia at our last show. This is before she was elected a councillor, but saying what she was about. Okay, you need to find more of a context and go back and listen to the whole of the show. But I think this sums up the kind of person that we're dealing with.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here and actually see the other candidates face to face. One thing I'm absolutely saying is Labour are not taking this seat for granted. We are working to win in Ancoats and Beswick. We are not coasting. I'm out every single day campaigning. I'm on Twitter as Marcia4AB. I'm on Facebook as Marcia4AB. You can find me if you Google me. I believe I'm the strongest candidate, and on top of that, I add diversity. I was really surprised that Alexander, a white man, objected to being described as such, and told me that I'd done that in a condescending manner, which I don't believe I did at all. He also said that certain people didn't play the race card. I only ever hear white people talking about the race card as if racism is something that is just a game. It might be a game to him, but it's certainly not a game to me, because for many black people, it's about life and death. The fact that you can have a trial going on in America right now with a police officer who held his knee on the neck of a black man for 9 minutes, and they're debating, oh, well, maybe that's not what killed him. Maybe he died for some other reason other than having his air supply choked for nearly 10 minutes. When lockdown happened in Manchester, the first person to be tasered was a black man at a petrol station. This is real. This is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a card. There was a talk about taking things on a case-by-case basis. If you do that, you ignore the trends. If you look at every single incidence of institutionalized racism, you say, oh, well, that was just that, and that was just the other, and that was just the other. You miss the trend. And the trend is institutionalized racism, which has been effectively legalized by the hostile environment, and too many people in Manchester have suffered from this. But if we come down to Beswick, and Ancoats and Beswick. I know Ancoats, I know Beswick. I have the skill set to be an excellent councillor in this area. I've done a lot of work around planning. I've done a lot of work around community cohesion. So I would ask for your vote on May the 6th. Vote for Marcia Hutchinson for Ancoats and Beswick. Vote for Andy Burnham for the mayor. You will get the best team running this city, both on a local and a regional basis. Thank you.
The heartbeat of your community. Legacy 90.1.
Woo! Marcia, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, like I said, I listened. You know what? I listened to that a couple of times from you made that statement, and to the two other parts in that show. And there's quite a few things that we'll get into as we get into the show and type of questioning. But one thing that came into my mind, I thought, is Marcia in the right country? Because you know that how you talk, just direct, straight, you know, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because you know of other politicians, councillors that speak the same way that you do. But for me, that kind of direct talk, total comfortability with speaking on the questions and the issues of race is not something that is happening enough.
Well, I hope I'm in the right country. Maybe it's because I'm a new councillor and I'm far too candid, but this is very much me. I got into being a local councillor mainly because I found out there were hardly any black councillors in Manchester. And if you're going to get into it to do something, you're going to need to do that thing. And so often when black people highlight the racism they're suffering from, they're told that they are playing the race card or some other card. And it's outrageous that anyone should say that, least of all on a black radio station. I think he got about 200 and odd votes to my 2052. And, you know, their performance demonstrated why it would be a very bad idea to vote for them.
Yeah. Yeah, speaks for itself, doesn't it? Let me, before we go any further, say good evening and hello to Sharlene. Hi, Sharlene. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Feeling good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I mean, I have heard of you. Your reputation goes before you, and some of the work, the great work that you've been doing. So, please tell us a bit about MGTY.
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 To be honest, it's kind of we kind of went with the flow of things. It kind of just developed on its own. It was never planned to go as big as it is, but it just had its own steps. We started off just there. It was started off in COVID, and I was a youth worker, so I had a lot of contact with a lot of the youth, and they were very down and depressed, as everybody was, I think. But they didn't know what to do. It was, you know, through the COVID because you couldn't go anywhere. So we started off with some online competitions with TikTok shows and talent shows and stuff like that. And then from then, I found that I was getting more youth contacting me and was having more conversations, and I found we were having a lot of issues. So we started doing online shows. So we started with Backchat shows. Now there's Backchat London, so we just improvised that into Backchat Manchester, and we talked about, we brought up loads of issues about racism, gang crime, knife crime, relationships, and all these issues were picked by the youth. And from then, we spoke about certain things, and I said, what do you think? We started talking about the world and the changes that we can make around us, and that basically, really, to get back, you have to give. So we started, it took us ages, but we finally was able to start off with getting some litter picks, and we had fun doing the little picks and music, dancing. We got the other community involved. And then we went on to doing a lot more things with food packing and delivering around the community to the homeless. So we decided to make the group more of a community group, and just do things as well as art and talent to also do something with the community, because we've got people that don't actually do music and stuff, so we get to do stuff like that. But we've recently just got involved with the Student Lawrence as well, so it's been great meeting loads of other organisations. So basically, we're still growing to do more and more, really.
That's excellent. And it is a specific, is it, because I said the age range is it 15 to 25?
Yeah, it's 15 to 25. The older ones there more help us with the leaders of the group. So they will, because, you know, they've got a little bit more knowledge on stuff. So they help me with directing of the group. And then we all work together, and we all come up with ideas together of what to do next and what our next avenue is. During this process of the group, we've had losses that are close members of the group, which was Cherry and Junior, who I'm sure a lot of people are aware. He was murdered and shot at the same time. Junior was trying to save, you know, the youth life, and he lost his. And then we had another youth who's very close to us up in Moston, and he was called Mosley, doing music. So at the moment, we're trying to keep their memory names alive, which is the representation of the colours blue, yellow, and red. Blue is for Mosley, yellow is for Junior, and red is for Cherry. And that's just to keep their names alive and make sure it's important that they don't get forgotten, because we're trying to stop all these murders from happening, and we're trying to put the youth on another track and say that there is a choice, because they feel like they haven't got a choice, and that what's MGTY, but there's another choice out there. You don't have to be in that gang.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sharlene. So I'm going to be speaking to Sharlene, and I'm going to also speaking to Councillor Marcia Hutchinson. We'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
We want to end on...
Right, we asked that we are on a break on the radio, but we're still live online. Marcia, I mean, we can go back on this and whatever, but should I? Yeah, no, why not? We can still ask it again, or go around that area. Just the whole experience of the election on the night. Obviously, you've put in the footwork, and where was the actual announcement?
Right, so it was at the GMEX on the Friday, and you go in, and it's the huge conference hall, and for each ward there's a huge table with 5, 6, 7 counters, invigilators. The candidate can actually watch the count taking place. So you've got all 4 candidates, me, Tories, Lib Dem, Green. Then you've got, every so often you'll hear a shout from another table when they've counted and announced the result from that table. So every so often someone goes, oh, they're just about to announce for Hume, and everybody rushes down to the Hume table because they all want to be there with the announcement. So there's a lot of buzz, and you're constantly seeing these people counting papers, a bit like at a bank. And they clip them in clips of 25, and then they clip 4 of those together in clips of 100, huge bulldog clips, and then they lay those out in rows of 5, so you can see 500, 1,000. So you can actually see, whilst the votes are being counted, the piles going up.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, there were about 6 people counting, and they put piles under each person's name. But the names were different under each person. So I'd be looking at one person thinking, oh, yeah, I'm getting a lot. And then the other person thinking, oh, I'm not doing well over there. And then I'd go over and realize, oh, yeah, that's me as well. So you tend to know early on how it's going. And they start that early in the day, about 10 a.m. But I didn't go till 2 p.m. And I was getting texts from people going, oh, it's looking good, it's looking good. And I'm like, stop it, I don't want to hear. Not till it's official. Something could go wrong.
Wow.
So it's quite exciting, and everybody at the end wants to pose with the sign for your ward, saying how you did. So I suppose for political geeks or people who are into politics, it's like Christmas. It's all so exciting. For me, it was just nerve-wracking. I was just, will somebody just tell me the result?
Well, I can imagine this.
Yeah, you also get to meet all the other councillors, because especially during lockdown, they're not meeting in person. So it's the first time you've met a lot of them. And, you know, there are 96 councillors in Manchester. At the elections, 94 were Labour, 1 Lib Dem, 1 Green. So you're sort of meeting some of your colleagues, not so much for the first time. You might have seen them around, but this is the first time People are chatting to you.
So this would have been a coping, because usually would the shout out, I mean, the results be done in your own area? We're just coming right back. 1 minute. Yes, welcome back. You're on tune to the search engine, and just at the moment speaking to Councillor Marcia Hutchinson, newly elected Councillor Marcia Hutchinson for the areas of Ancoats and Beswick. And we'll also speak here with Sharlene Small. Sorry, Sharlene. Sharlene Small from Manchester's Got Talent Youth. She's going to be telling us much more about Manchester's Got Talent Youth, but she's also here with Marcia in relation to what do you call it? Project, event, drive?
Are you talking to me or Sharlene?
I'm talking to you in relation to the Prospective Councillors
project.
Pardon?
Yeah, so the pipeline project. We started it a few years ago, and it started because I didn't know when I first came to Manchester that there were hardly any black councillors. I actually went online and looked at all the pictures and thought, where are the black councillors? When I was growing up in Bradford, you know, if you really wanted to be involved in the black community and you wanted a big night out, let's go to Manchester. It's where it was all at. So I was really shocked. And I remember thinking to myself, somebody's got to do something. And I know whenever I think that, it means me. So I thought, well, I don't know how to become a councillor. I ain't got the faintest idea, but we could all learn together if we set up some kind of training program, because there must be some way you find out how to do it. And not just how you become a councillor in general, but how to become a councillor in Manchester. What are the rules in Manchester? How long do you have to be a party member before you're entitled? It's not Ancoats and Collyhurst, actually. It's Ancoats and Beswick.
Oh, sorry. And I'm sure I put that on the fire as well.
Yeah, the Collyhurst is next door. They'll have me guts for garters if I claim I'm there.
I'll make changes.
Yeah, so it was very much, I don't know how to do this, but I'm sure if we work together, we can learn how to do it. So the first cohort was 6 of us. And of those first 6, 3 of us are now councillors. Me, we were all elected on Thursday. Myself, Ekua Beyunu in Hume, and Nathaniel Tete in Eccles in Salford. So we've got a 50% hit rate from the first training course. 3 of us have become councillors.
All Labour?
All Labour.
Wow.
We got a little bit of funding from the Labour Party. I have to acknowledge the funding. It was £1,000 to run for a whole year, so it wasn't a lot of money. But it wasn't so much the money as the fact that we got it to say to people, the Labour Party supports what we're doing. And I have to say, there was some pushback internally within the Labour Party in Manchester of people who didn't want us to get the funding.
Wow.
Somebody said, I don't believe in identity politics. And the only people I ever hear saying that are white men, as in those people whose identity has allowed them to sit at the top of the pile for centuries, then turn around and say, no, I don't believe in identity politics. Do you think if Boris Johnson wasn't a white, male, middle-class man, he would be sitting there as Prime Minister with the amount of scandal swirling around him? I don't think so.
Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not surprised to hear you say that in the sense of the pushback. Before you actually said that, I was going to say to you, is this a sign of the times and progression? I mean, I wrote in the little ad about this show about the last African-Caribbean councillor woman that I was aware of, which was Mrs. Losita Brandy. And that was in 2003.
Yep, and Roy Waters, I think, stood down in 2014. So that's, so it's been 7 years since the last African-Caribbean councillor.
But as women are concerned,
oh yeah, it's the last woman is nearly 20 years.
Yeah. So if for Labour, what is it? Is this a reflection then going down on the ground to how it seems to be at the top in a way?
This is the view I take is nobody gives you anything. Oppressed people have never got anything by asking nicely. We've got stuff by fighting for it. And without going into too much of the gory detail, we have had to fight. There was no plates, nothing being handed on a plate. You know, I lived in Whalley Range, and a vacancy came up in Whalley Range for a councillor. And in the Labour Party, when a female councillor stands down, it's automatically an all-female shortlist. And in Whalley Range, they went to extraordinary lengths to make sure I did not get on the shortlist. So I didn't even get selected in my own ward when I was the only person on what's called a panel, which is a pre-approved list of people who was from Whalley Range, and generally people like councillors from their own area, and they were not going to have me. Partially because I was seen as a troublemaker, and Black people are always seen as troublemakers because we don't sit quietly and wait our turn. Somebody actually said to me, wait your turn. Wait your turn means never. It means sit quietly and be polite and be good, and we might give you something. And in my experience, you never get anything by doing that. Sorry, I paused because I thought you were going to say something.
I'm listening in. It's twofold, really, because again, I'm not surprised, but and at the same time, I'm in a way pleased. Yeah, not that you went through what you went through, but that you're sharing what you went through.
I mean, I'm maybe because I'm a new councillor, I don't know when to shut up, and maybe I'll get my wrist slapped. But it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And you know, for the years of nonsense that have gone on, I'm telling it like it is. Yeah,
no, and full praise for you for that. And nothing that you're saying is not there. You've recognised, you've seen the situation, the length of time the representation has not been in the Council of Manchester, and with the Pipeline project.
I'm in Russia, which is part of Gorton, and my MP is Afzal Khan, and he said to me, if you are not around the table when decisions are being made, your community isn't going to get anything. Now, even if you're not making the decision, the fact that you're in the room makes a difference. Shirley Chisholm was the Black female politician, the first Black woman to actually run for president. And people laughed at her because this was in the 70s, thinking, what are you doing running for president? It made a difference. I don't think Barack Obama would have become president had Shirley Chisholm not been there beforehand. And she said, if they won't give you a seat at the table, bring a stool. You have to elbow your way in. And I have absolutely no sympathy with people who say, oh, well, you know, you're a bit too aggressive, you're a bit too that, you're a bit too this, because that's just the angry Black woman trope. By that, I mean it's a way people use to put you down.
I interviewed gosh, what's her name? Miss Julie from the Chrysalis Project on the radio a while ago. And exactly what you said there, that you were told by Afzal, was what she was told by Mama Edwards, that she needed to be at the table in the room. And I believe very much so that's how they were able to, in their time, open so many doors.
Yeah, because if you think, just to quote the US example, not directly relevant, but useful, slavery was abolished in the US in 1860, and then the Civil War happened between 1860 and 1865. By 1960, that's 100 years later, Black people still hadn't been given their civil rights, and they were still being told, wait. Wait means never. 100 years later, they still couldn't vote, they still didn't have adequate housing. They were still being told that their education was separate but equal, which was a joke. And people think that in the UK, oh, well, you know, we didn't have slavery, it's different. No, nonsense. It's actually worse because slavery in the UK was outsourced to the Caribbean. So people in Britain on the mainland could get the benefits of slavery, the sugar, the chocolate, the rum, but they didn't have to see any of it. They didn't have to see the brutality. So they could pretend it wasn't happening, or if it was happening, it had nothing to do with them because it was offshore.
Definitely. Well, Marcia, tell us a bit then about more about the pipeline project. And I'm taking it that Sharlene is involved in the pipeline.
I am hoping Sharlene will be involved. I do not want to presuppose, but I met Sharlene. I was introduced to her, and I met her on the doorstep because she lives in the ward, and she was such a breath of fresh air. I thought, this woman has got to get involved. And the pipeline project is basically teaching people how you become a local councillor from start to finish, what you have to do. You know, it's a bit like a short course. So, for instance, if you want to be a Labour councillor, you have to join the Labour Party. And generally, you have to have been a member for about a year, and you have to have a track record of going out canvassing, campaigning. Just like you would for any other job, you have to fill out an application form that says, for the last year, these are the things I've done. You know, I've been campaigning here, I've done this, I've done leafleting there, have some evidence to prove it. That's why you see everyone on Facebook taking pictures whenever they've been doing campaigning. Then you're interviewed, and we do interview training, and that's a really popular bit, the mock training, knowing where the trip-up questions are and what to answer. And because it'll be you in a room with 3 people, it might be up to 5 people, and it could be nerve-wracking. You're in a big old town hall with the scrolls and the wood and the high ceilings, and you know, I'm hoping I'll be able to run the training course in the town hall so people get familiar with, you know, the venue where you're going for the training. And then if successful, you end up on something called the panel. That is a pre-approved or pre-vetted group of people who are entitled to apply whenever there is a vacancy for a councillor. And this year there were 10 new councillors. So out of 96, 10 new ones were appointed this year. Now that's more than usual because there were no elections last year, but vacancies do come up. And when a woman steps down or retires, it's automatically an all-female shortlist, which is one of the brilliant things that Manchester has done. And that means at the moment, 51% of Manchester councillors are female. So a lot of hard work has gone into that. We did try and argue that there should be some all-black seats. For instance, you know, if a seat comes up in an area like Moss Side, we didn't get anywhere with that, but still trying. And then if a seat becomes vacant, they shortlist, and they can choose to shortlist anywhere between 2 and 5 people. And if you get shortlisted, you've got a week to campaign, which means you ring round all the people who are Labour Party members in that branch. Say, in Ancoats and Beswick, I'm given a list on a spreadsheet with the names of everybody who's a member of the Labour Party, and I ring them and I ask them to vote for me, and I can email them and I can put a leaflet through their door. So it's like a mini campaign of just the party members, maybe 200 people. And then on the night, there's what's called a hustings, and all the candidates get 5 minutes to say what they would do if they were the candidate. And they're also asked questions, and then people vote. So I've been shortlisted 3 or 4 times now. Typically, you don't get it the first time. Use that as practice. And second or third time, you get a bit more comfortable. It's only 5 minutes. If you go over 5 minutes, they will cut you off. So you should practice your speech. So all of that we do at the Pipeline Project. We video people's speeches. We get everyone to look at the speech and say, what did they do well? What could they have done differently? And we found that interview practice was so popular. People were ringing up the Pipeline Project saying, my great-grandfather's Jamaican. Can I come down and do the interview practice? And I would just say, yeah, I'm not going to question it. If you say you're black, it doesn't matter if you're blonde and blue-eyed. You can come down, you can join in.
Okay. And just before I ask, so has Sharlene attended any of the project classes as yet?
No, we haven't started yet. I'm still trying to find the venue for the next session. I'm hoping, I had hoped to have had the date by the time I came on here. We're hoping it will be Saturday, the 12th of June. But I need to confirm the venue. And it will be an all-day event. In the past, we did them every Saturday, every first Saturday of every month. But now I'm a councillor, I have less time. So we're going to do a one-day intensive. But I've prepared training materials, curriculum, everything. And I'll be at the end of the phone if people want to call me up. But for now, it's going to be a one-day intensive. We've got funding. If people need childcare, if they need transport costs, we'll cover all of that. Come down. Even if you're not a member of the Labour Party, it doesn't matter. If you're interested in change and improving your community, come down. Manchester has 96 councillors, 94 are Labour. So as far as I'm concerned, the Labour Party is where it's at. Come down, find out more about it. You might decide, no, it's not for me. That's fine, but just come and find out more.
And how can they, if you're not totally sure on the date, where can they come to make sure that it is the 12th?
So we've got a Facebook page. If you look for Pipeline Project on Facebook, that's the best place to find it. And I will update us when we've got an actual date. Just waiting for a venue, and then we'll firm it.
I'm interested in Sharlene then, given now that you've given me that little bit of information that she lives in the borough, where you are now the councillor. What kind of questions did you have for Marcia then when she was doing her campaigning then, Sharlene?
Well, I was surprised to see her because I didn't even know she was coming around. Well, I was hoping to meet her, but so when I met her, it was basically she just introduced herself, and I didn't really need to ask so many questions because she actually showed me so much what she had done, and the person who had told me about it told me some changes she's done. I've never actually really heard of her until my friend said, and you've got the wrong logo and my name spelt with an S, but it's okay. It's okay. And he said, it's okay.
I'm making all the mistakes tonight, innit? I'm just going to take you as plain now. No fancy stuff going around you two the rest of this evening.
Yeah. I just have to send you all our details, because nothing's there. I don't know. But
nothing there is right. We're going to take all that down.
No, that's fine. But basically, we're just... she came and she told us about what she was doing in Beswick and Ancoles, and like she said, it was actually refreshing to see a black lady as a councillor, because if I have any issues, I do write to my MP, and it's always a white lady that I get to speak to, or a white man that I speak to. So it was nice to see a lady, and she was so happy and bubbly. She wasn't like, she just spoke my language, she didn't use large big words, and she was just down to earth, and it was brilliant to have someone so down to earth, and she got it. Like she said, she's from Charlton and Waller Range, and a black lady living in the area, so she got it. And then she was impressed with the work that we done, and she was more asking us questions. So it was nice to get to know each other. So yeah. And
was it at that meeting that the conversation came up with regard to the pipeline project?
Yeah. I was surprised actually, because I was surprised and honoured, obviously, because I never thought about doing counselling. I do vote, but to be honest, I've always voted because I was brought up to vote, and I was brought up to that. People have died, to allow black people to vote. So it's important for us to vote, and we've always been Labour from my grandma. So I've always continued that and voted for Labour. I've never voted for anyone else, to be honest. So yeah.
And can I just ask then, in relation to, again, I'm prying into your possible conversations here, but I'm just saying, given your role and the work that you're doing and the plight of many of the young people that you're working with, and again, I could be wrong here, but many community people going back historically actually point a lot of blame towards the council in a way that they could do more. You could point to GMP as well. A lot of people may say in how they interact with communities, and particularly with young people, and particularly with some of the black young people. So, yeah, was that an area that you brought up?
Yeah, honestly, I totally agreed I totally agreed at the time, because I'm coming from the community. I'm not someone that has loads of qualifications. I'm a single parent mother that makes the same mistakes as everybody else has in the issues, trying to keep your family together, trying to keep a full-time job, and you've got your kids at home. So yeah, I have done, the normal understanding that people in the community had. So yeah, of course, I do feel like that. But what has happened through the group, which I didn't expect, like I said earlier, is that they've paid notice of the group, because I haven't actually reached out to anybody. They've reached out to us. So I do feel that what I try and make a difference, and they've opened the door to let me in. I've been into a lot of meetings with the police. My group has had Q&As with the police, which is like they've been asked. The police have contacted us and actually said, we'd like your youth to come to an online meeting with the other police and speak at any questions I've got for the police and stuff like that. And I said to them, do you want the questions beforehand or? And they've just not been ready to take. And some of the questions have been pretty difficult, but the police have answered them. So what I would say is that I would always say, and I understand where the community is coming from, but take the opportunities that we have, like voting, like doing something. Just take one day a week to do something for the community, and then get involved in certain meetings that I have to have a voice rather than just using it on Facebook and airing it out there. It's not really doing anything. Get involved something and have that voice. So otherwise, it's going to be with each other.
And from your specific group, when you've done your back chat sessions and things like that, what kind of feedback do you get from the young people that you work with, in the sense of how they feel after having one of them sessions?
They've come out positive, to be honest. They've come out surprised as well. They've come out surprised, but at the same time, honestly, the talk a good talk, but are they going to make the difference? And we're continuing to do stuff with the police. Like we've got certain events that we've planned with the with BAPA involved as well, to help us with the GMP, to do more things with the youth and the GMP involved, to try and get that break that barrier down and have more talks and hopefully make that change, through the communication more with each other, because I don't think the youth have actually had Q&As with the police before, so that's one step. So hopefully we can continue so that we do see that difference.
Definitely. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, you talked about the back chat issue. I mean, I'll speak with you more, because like I said, I have heard of you before via my sister. And I said she speaks very highly of you. And there was a show that I used to do on here called Talk Up Youth a long time ago. They were quite young at the time, like 16 to 17, and they went off to university. And I did say to her when she mentioned you that it would be good to link up and probably look at seeing if we could redo something like that with your young people. And again, like you based your show, Back Chat, off a show, was you say in America?
No, it's the Back Chat London.
London.
Because the youth was like, can't we do that? So we started doing it just privately, on Zoom, and it was just, and we still do them. We had stopped for a while because we had so many other events that we did, which I hopefully tell you about later. But we started them back up, and it really they released a lot of stress off them with them, and it was really important. So, but then they started getting so good that we brought them online now, and we did Back Chat shows online, and then we started doing a radio show, and then we started doing them talk shows. We had teachers on that, like if the youth start, depending on the subject, this youth would maybe talk about college. They're not happy with college, so we'll do a radio show about college. And then we had Kemoy came in because he was a teacher, so he came in and answered some of the questions that the youth had. And then we had Eugene Sobers from Young Lives Matters. He came in when we talked about gang crime. So we do loads of little things like Back Chat. It's not just Back Chat, but we do a lot of things where we try and hear what the youth issues are so we can deal with them.
Definitely. Brilliant. I mean, like I say, the one that I modeled, that I copied, and I'm going to say it straight.
Love it.
From Jamaica. They were from Jamaica, and you should look them up. They're very good. But they're called Talk Up Youth. UYOOT.
Youth. I love it.
Yeah, Talk Up Youth. So I just made it a bit more Englified.
No man, keep it.
And for it like that, I didn't want to just steal it. But yeah, I mean, one thing that I didn't get to do, not that I didn't try, was to speak with the director of Talk Up You in Jamaica. I know she's very, very busy, but they're doing some amazing things. I said it. I mean, it'd be great for you to have a look. It's a great model as well. in what they do. It's not just a radio show they do a lot of stuff in schools, colleges, right across. It's an amazing project, and it's going for a long time now. So yeah, that would be great to talk more about that.
Yeah, because that's what we want to do as a youth group. We've been saying it for it's about community over competition. All the organisations, we want to come together and do things together and collaborate with each other, because working together, that's what makes change as well. So we don't, it'd be nice to branch out as well. With Jamaica would be great as well. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, I like that saying that, community over competition. I like that. Did you just come up with that now? Was that one of your slogans?
It's something I've always said. But I said it actually for the past 4 months, because I've seen it on Instagram, so it's been my look. I've stolen it and kept it.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, listen, we'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
Have you missed your
Yeah, so we're on the break again, so we're still live online. So like I said, I want I've got a couple of questions, but I want the listeners to also be involved in the conversation. So I try, and sometimes I keep telling myself I'm going to do it, so when I come to the ads, that I have a different question that doesn't take people away from where we were before the comment. It could be like just a short question and discussion that's kind of like online. So before the last break, we were talking about the setup of the actual results and the piling up of the notes and things like that. And then I suppose after that, Marcia, it's the changing of the title and the councillor going before your name in the emails and setting all that backroom office up.
Yeah. Oh, it's weird. We had an induction day on Monday where we got our council phones. That's my council phone and my ordinary phone and my council laptop and my council parking pass. And we had a whole long day of induction, which was really, really tiring. A lot of it was spent putting the fear of God into us, telling us what's legal and what's illegal for councillors to do.
So who would put you through your induction?
We had a whole range of people. So Sir Richard Lees, the leader of the council, he spoke for 10 minutes. Joanne Roney, who is the chief exec, she spoke. And you had the legal officers speak. There's a whole team who are called members services, and they do everything that you need as a councillor. So there was a tech guy who set up the laptops, there's someone else who set up the phones, and a whole team of people who helped the councillors. Somebody their job just seemed to be getting your parking pass. There's a room where you can work in the town hall, so you can go there with your laptop and work. And then the council is split up into the different departments. So you've got health, education, roads. And as a new councillor, you can choose to go on one or more committee, but you don't know anything about them. So you're trying to decide which one you want to go on. And then you apply, and they try and give you your first choice as a new councillor. But the learning curve is so steep.
So they don't like play to your skills?
No, not really. You can choose. So I've chosen planning because that's my background, but that doesn't mean you'll get it. In fact, sometimes I have a feeling they keep you away from something you know stuff about, because it might cause trouble if you know what you're talking about. So I wouldn't, when we go back on air, I will not mention that I have gone for planning, because that might actually stop me getting it.
Well, you're still live on air.
No,
we're only not live going out on radio.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
Yes, welcome back. You're on Tune to the Search Engine, and we're currently talking to Councillor Marcia Hutchinson and also Sharlene Small, Manchester's Got Talent Youth. That's Sharlene with an S.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's me trying to be quick, trying to turn things around, not having enough. Do you know how long I was trying to? I just totally must have just got it wrong. So, what is your title on Facebook?
Mine?
Yes.
Oh, well, Shah Sangster. But that's
For
because,
MGT, why?
oh, MGT is MGTY Manchester.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I was on the total different GTY.
I don't know what GTY is, but we're MGTY.
So I didn't have that. That's not MG. What did I have up? MGT. What did I have as your logo?
No, it was our logo, but you've got an old logo. That was our first logo. We've updated that one.
All right,
We've actually updated it twice since then.
Okay, so I'm just old school.
Yeah,
I'm behind the time. So I wasn't too. I thought I'd have the totally wrong logo up there.
No, definitely no. I know it's
all right then.
That's
All right,
fine.
I don't feel so bad.
No, that's fine.
So bad now. Okay, well, question 456. It says, what kind of person should be a counsellor? Can you answer that?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'll start with you.
I think anyone who cares about the community in which they live and wants to improve it, that's basically it. You know, some people use being a local councillor as a springboard to other things, but essentially there seem to be two routes. A number of councillors are people who used to be in youth work or other community work and sort of see that that's another area where they can help their young people. So for instance, Annette, Leanne Igbon in Hume, she is a Black councillor. Her heritage, I think, is Nigerian. I hope I haven't got it wrong. But she started out in youth work. My background is law. And I think often you see things and you just think that's just wrong. And moving to Manchester, I've been here 9-10 years. Moving to Manchester and seeing such a vibrant African-Caribbean community who had no political representation, I just thought that's just wrong.
Yeah.
And the minute you start banging the table and going, somebody should do something, you think, well, if you're not prepared to do something, how can you expect other people to do something? And that's how I ended up starting the pipeline project, getting people involved, trying to stand, being shortlisted. It can be really demoralizing when you're shortlisted and you don't succeed, and then you're shortlisted again and you don't succeed. So a big part of it is just to keep going. Because I don't mind saying, like a lot of people, I joined the Labour Party to support Jeremy Corbyn in 2016. And when he was removed as leader and removed from the Parliamentary Labour Party, I was really annoyed. Annoyed is an understatement. I was thinking, you know, do I want to stay and fight? There's even a movement set up saying, don't leave, stay and fight. And I stayed. And I happened to get shortlisted. You know, the seat wasn't vacant. The person who was going to be fighting the election in 2021 decided she didn't want to do it. I'm not quite sure why. I think she had other priorities. So she hadn't actually been elected as a councillor yet. She was the candidate. Decided she didn't want to do it, and therefore a vacancy came up. And what I think is interesting is vacancies tend to come up when you least expect them. Sadly, 2 people died. My good friend Asiya Shah, she was selected in Whalley Range, and it feels hard to talk about her. She didn't die of COVID, but she was a hospital chaplain. And she was on duty 24/7, dealing with families, with the bereaved. She just didn't stop working and eventually died of a brain hemorrhage just suddenly in November. And it was such a shock because I was so pleased when she got selected. And somebody else also passed away, Sue Murphy. Those created vacancies as well. So, and Sue Murphy was the deputy leader of the council. So you never know if you're there. It's about being in the right place at the right time. You never know when a vacancy will come up, and if it does, and you're on the panel, you're in this pre-vetted group, then you could well be selected. Now the panel, without getting into too much technical detail, it's like a job application. It tends to open in the middle of May and closes in the middle of June. So you've got a month to apply. And the form takes a bit of filling in, and you need a year's experience. So you really need to join a year before you're filling it in, because they will say, well, you know, what have you done for last year? But once you're on the panel, if a vacancy comes up, you could get shortlisted. So I think never say never, because I didn't expect to get shortlisted for this year. All the candidates had been selected. It was all done and dusted. You just, you know, sit there and wait, and then somebody chose to step down.
But what about, because a lot of people think that there's a lot of paperwork, you've got to write letters, you've got to write, I don't know, research papers, I don't know. Is that...
Yeah, there is. I think like any job, you know, maybe 80% of it is the boring stuff to get to the 20% that you really wanted to do. I'm sure Sharlene would say the same for Manchester's Got Talent Youth. A lot of the setting up of the company, the this, that, and the other, it's a bit like, this isn't what I got into it for. But the fun bit, you know, you have to take the rough with the smooth. So there are lots of meetings you sit in where you think, is this really what I wanted to do? But it's part and parcel of the whole job. So having said that, I've been a counsellor for less than a week, so I can hardly say I know what it's all about.
What kind of age range is it that are like invited to take part in the pipeline project?
Well, 18 is the youngest. The youngest councillor on Manchester City Council, I think, was John Connor Lyons, and I think he was appointed when he was 21. So can be pretty young. A lot of people either get involved right at the beginning of their career, you know, straight out of university, but other people like me have done another job and are sort of at the end of one career and are looking to use their experience and their expertise and their skills and their knowledge to sort of help others and bring other people on. You know, I don't want to say exactly my age, but, you know, I look older than I actually am, you know what I mean? So, I know, I look younger than I am, what am I saying?
You do. I don't know your age, but I'm sure you do. I saw your, was it your acknowledgement video? Or was it before that, when you were actually speaking and doing press-ups?
Well, again, I want to do a different kind of politics, and I thought one of the reasons I've been able to keep going is fitness, because I have my children are 26 and 28, and I had a really bad pregnancy with the younger one and basically broke my hip, and I have struggled ever since. And if I don't do my stretches, my yoga, my all that, I literally after a few days won't be able to walk. And people go, "Oh, Marcia, you're so fit, you're so this." I think I don't have a choice. It's either fitness or crutches. And I think a lot in our community, you can get really upset about what's happened to you in life. And, you know, I really looked forward to playing with my kids when I was young, and I couldn't because I couldn't walk. And I gradually, over the years, I saw every specialist going, and gradually it was yoga. They said, you need to keep stretching because your body's going to just seize up around the injury. And it works. But even now, I've been sat down for nearly an hour and it's almost too much. I might need to get up. In the next break, I'll get up, I'll switch the camera off and I'll do a bit of yoga and stretch, and then I'll come and sit down again. And it's just, that's how my body is. Just have to work it. That's part of that.
It was great. I don't think I could do that and speak, especially not at the moment. I've only just gone back to the gym, and I just yesterday took a yoga book off the shelf to sit down and start reading.
Well, once lockdown started, the first lockdown, in the first 10 days, I put on 10 pounds, and I was like, oh, you need to do something. So I started an online fitness class, and I've taught it every single day for the whole of the first lockdown. Then I went back to the gym because I teach fitness classes as well at Moss Side and Hough End and Manchester Aquatics. And lockdown 2, I knew I had to work out every day. Otherwise, everything just seizes up. So yeah, from the 2nd of November till now, I don't think I've missed a day, or I missed election day. And it's just what my body needs to keep physically moving.
Brilliant. And Sharlene, in the sense of, you know, when you think about that potential getting through the training pipeline project, to to being a counsellor, what kind of things do you, I don't know, what am I asking? I mean, would you see it as, I don't know, is there things with the pipeline like shadowing? So in the sense of meetings and stuff like that, would people like Sharlene be able to sit in on things? Is that how it can work?
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're talking to me or Sharlene at the moment.
Well, I did start talking to Sharlene, and then I went on to a question that's asking Charlene's question. Let me go back. So in relation to being a counsellor, Sharlene, are you saying, yeah, I want to be on
I'm
this?
learning.
You're a leader anyway, you're leading.
Yeah, I'm starting to learn to lead. I'm starting to own it that, yeah, I'm making changes. And I'm proud of that. So, but I never thought about doing counselling before. I never thought someone like me was capable of doing it, but Marcia's explained it to me, and I feel like now that it is something that I could, do, because it is something I want to make a change, and I do want to make a difference in the community. And to have someone like I say, someone just coming from the community like myself, it's definitely a brilliant opportunity. So yeah, definitely want to learn more. And whether step up to the book, whether step up to that plate and be a counsellor, it's still learning more and more about the politics, and you need to learn that really to know the way the changes of the world, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah, for me, what I see is people who are interested and wanting to do something and wanting to serve their community. And those are all the things I saw in Sharlene when I met her, and all the things she was doing. And I thought, yeah, that's the sort of person. You can't, what you do is you take people who have the drive and teach them about being a counsellor. If they haven't got the drive, there's no point. I mean, Kimoy I met as well, and Kimoy's actually been on panel longer than me. Unfortunately, he's not been selected yet, but as soon as I met him, I thought, this is the sort of person who should be a local counsellor. And I've been bugging him and ringing him and like, Kimoy, are you doing this and are you doing that? And eventually he came onto one of the leafleting sessions and he said, you know why I've come? Because you keep, bugging isn't the word he used, but you have to just keep saying to people, I'm here, I still see you, I know you're doing well, keep going. Because I think so often in our community, people are working so hard and no one's encouraging them. And
how can you do that? I never knew Kimoy stood for took. Well, I suppose it's not something that you publicly hear about, is it? If somebody takes a test to go and be a counsellor.
Oh, maybe I'm outing him and he didn't want to be outed. Sorry, Kimoy.
No, I mean, well, how would people have found out about you taking those tests unless you told them? Yeah,
I mean, there are a number of Black people who are either on panel or trying to get on the panel. And then once they're there, if a seat comes up, they'll get shortlisted. I've rung people, I've said, look, you should do this. And they said, oh, I'm not sure. And you don't push people too much because ultimately it has to come from them because it is hard work. But I would like to think that I can encourage other people, because the one thing I do not want, I am not interested in being the only one. That is the last thing. For me, if I'm going to become a counsellor, I'm going on there with a posse. We're going as a group because they can pick you off one by one. So I was so pleased when Ekua got selected for Hume, because she's a Black woman, lived in Moss Side Hume all her life. She's an artist and she wasn't sure she wanted to do it. And quite frankly, I pushed her. And every so often she'd look at me and she said, you did this. And I'm like, yes, I pushed you. So the two of us are now counsellors. And it's so good to be able to ring somebody else up and say, oh, do you understand the thing? And what was this document? And I don't know when the meeting is. And, oh, have you got your pass? And all the things about being new in a post. You've just got someone else to talk to me about. But for me personally, 12% of the population of Manchester is of African heritage. Therefore, 12% of the councillors should be African heritage. And as there are 96 councillors, that means there should be at least 10, 11. And right now there are 3 or 4. There are some people with African heritage, but they don't, they're not visibly Black. And I don't mean to put anyone down at all. But if, say, your grandfather or your great-grandfather was Black and no one can tell, you're not going to suffer from the racism that visibly Black people are.
And is the reasons for that firmly really within the community that people are not stepping up, or is it also that the Labour or other political parties are not doing it? Like the police are constantly saying that they're doing recruitment drives to get more Black and Asian people in the police. Is it that the council are not doing their drives for that?
I think it's both.
I think it's.
I think a lot of people are saying, I do not want to be a member. I do not want to join a club that wouldn't have me as a member. And what I'm saying is, it's not their club. It's our club. It's our city, and we deserve to be part of the people who manage this city. And it's not their Labour Party, it's our Labour Party. And it is hard. And I've been on the receiving end of racism, but I've been on the receiving end of racism in all aspects of life. If you're going to walk away from the pot of money that should be distributed across the whole community going, well, I don't like them people, then your community is not going to get any resources. So my view is, yeah, not everybody in there wants us there, but so what? It's our city as well. Okay, sorry,
Charlene, you were going to say something.
No, I was just agreeing. I think it's a balance as well, because like when it comes to voting, we see a lot of my friends say, I just vote for myself, and I think, well, that's not going to make a difference, is it? So I think it's a balance from both, like I said earlier, the opportunities we have for voting, take them. A lot of people, I've said it before, when I was younger, I wanted to be a policewoman, and it wasn't the policeman, that the GMP that stopped me. It was my own people that were turning the back on me, saying, you've got to be police, and not even wanting to be my friends and stuff. So it put me off being it. So I think it's a balance of both, you've got to make that step as well. If there's a step there to take it. You know what I mean? But as well as, I wanted to just get back to something that we was talking about earlier about the council, being a local councillor, being someone that's so close with the youth. And we're not just a youth group, something to do. We're actually here to make a difference and have a voice. And the youth are mature. They've been through a lot of stuff that adults haven't been through. So it makes them sometimes a little bit more knowledge on situations and more aware of things, quite intelligent. As I'm sure you know, with the groups you've heard of before. So and like Marcia says, there's younger people that can get into the council. And if I can teach them about politics from now, maybe we can have more younger politicians, and I think we need more younger ones in through the door. Not just Black, we also need younger ones, because they're the ones that are the future anyway. So they need to be there. So I'm wanting the youth to follow me this is why I want to work with Marcia for it, so I can get more youth to learn about voting and more politics, and hopefully some of them can get through and, they be the local council. I'm not even really bothered about myself, but getting the other youth to know that they can get in there and be a local councillor and stand next to Marcia would be great. Because I don't think they even know they have that choice. So for Marcia to even open the door to me, and I haven't got all these big qualifications, it gives the other youth a lot more hope to say, hey, So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with that, Charlie. And I think even just the process of having the discussions, that's probably just a little step on from the back chats and more focus and looking at politics. Because I think there's really so much that we are unaware of, where the council holds responsibility, and also what it's not even, I don't even know if rights to decision making, or how many decisions are being made without communities' knowledge. And I don't think in a lot of ways we have those what I call the cement conversations. We talk about the bricks, but not the cement, in the sense of a lot to do with the economics. Yeah, I mean, a simple thing. I went to I live in Trafford, but I went to a council meeting. I think it was when they were talking about Windrush, but there was a presentation that was there before that, and there was a young person who'd managed to get the council to look at putting a pelican crossing on the road, and they were talking about the budget to do that, and they mentioned something like £250,000 to put a pelican crossing in place. I nearly fell over the balcony. Yeah. because they mentioned that without even batting an eyelid for a Pelican crossing. And here's me thinking, just give me a bucket of Dulux paint, yeah? and just when
and a stop sign, and I'll just get it done.
when you're going to bed at night, how, you know, is there in the morning? So it's like I was like, well, how does that happen? How do you get to that kind of price? And just that kind of price also gives you a kind of idea of the amount of money that's actually involved in running a council, which I think for the most part, if you ask most people, they'd have no idea of what a council's yearly budget is.
Yeah, absolutely right. I went to a meeting earlier tonight, and what that meeting was trying to find out how much land the council owns. And the organisation that was doing that has spent months in what's called a freedom of information request. So you can put in a request to the council for information and they have to answer it. Just how much land the council owns, how much of it has been sold, who did they sell it to, how much did they get for it, what has been built on it. And those the answers to those questions are really difficult to find.
Wow. And there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No. I mean, one of the things we're hoping to do now that Andy Burnham has been re-elected is to, he mentioned in his manifesto, a land commission. So a list of where all the public land is, who sold it, how much it's been sold for. Because there is a feeling sometimes that council land is sold too cheaply to developers and the council isn't getting much for it.
Because there's a lot of decisions, over the years that we've talked about on the station, in certain local newspapers, where we feel that certain facilities in the community has been lost. But a lot of the time, sometimes it's usually gone before anybody is able to do anything about it. But we know that the conversations for what's going to happen must take place beforehand, or a long time beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons, a meeting I was also invited to tonight, gosh, you get invited to a lot of meetings that I couldn't attend because I'd already agreed to come on this station, is about Carmore Road. And you may or may not have seen in the papers that a local developer tried to get the land.
Yes.
And put up some kind of student flats, and the communities had to fight back and said, well, actually, we've got a lease to this land. And the developer, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure, had somehow got the impression or been told, oh, it's all right, they're not really using it. You know, if you go after it, you can get it. And this is one of the African-Caribbean community centre. You've got Carmore Road, Westwood Street, the Nello James Centre on Whitworth Road, that's already gone. And before you know it, there will be very little, if anything, left in terms of African-Caribbean community centres. And it's about standing up and saying, actually, we're here, we're active, and no, we're not just going to sit back and let you come in and take resources which this community desperately needs.
Most definitely. And again, with that, I mean, it's great everybody's doing that, is coming together. And this is why, again, with yourself, Charlene, with regard to
I told you everything tonight.
We're going to be sharing anything.
Wait, when it comes to names, I tell you could go back how many years on this show. I've called people everything.
I know, I got the worst name ever. You be calling me Chantal.
I'll get it right just at the end of the show.
Yeah.
No, but it'd be great because of the young people again that you're working with. I mean, I'm going to ask you about this more in the break, to just and again, when we're in the break, you can still hear us online, so you can still hear what I'm saying, and you can send your comments in and texts 0759 642626, and I'll read those ones that we've got at the moment. But it's like opening up not a whole new other area, but an area that should be not something of surprise for a lot of young people. It should be something that they're very up for and confident to be able to say, all right, then, you know, because what you're doing in the sense of going out with them and doing some of these community, the community walks, the cleanups and things like that. Again, those things are linked with the council.
And you know, something that I didn't even realise, we just did it because we just knew that the community needed it. And you know, I think there's a lot of issues within the community as well that we need to be honest about and, you know, get right. And that's something that I'm going to be voicing on with the youth, because it's, you know, the youth, we're all going to be doing it together, and hopefully they get heard and we can make little changes within, because we need to make, you know, it starts at home, doesn't it? You have to get your home right before you go out there. Do you know what I mean? So that's basically something that we're touching on as well. So
yeah,
and just adding to that, if I may, one of the things I hopefully can do as a local councillor is, we call it signposting, but there's a bit more than that. It's saying, as I did to Sharlene, you know, there's some funding available from the council to do that, and here's where you go and fill in this form, and this is how you get the money. And so often our communities don't know where the money is, and so we don't get it. And as a councillor, there's something called the Neighbourhood Investment Fund, and it's not a vast amount of money, but there's money there that you can apply to, and get money to do the kind of work that Charlene's doing. So as soon as I talk to her, it's like, do you know about this? And I see my role as a lot of signposting, telling people where to go to get the things they need and are entitled to, and they're entitled to it because they're paying the council tax. You know, we have paid for these services, we're paying in and we're not taking out.
Definitely. We'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
We want to end all new.
Yes, it is a different time. I mean, I think it cannot be a different time now, in the sense of the conversation that's going on with regard to the colour issue, with that report, that SEUK report that's come out with the George Floyd, that's happened. And the Manchester put out a statement with regard to George Floyd, and, you know, them needing to look at themselves. How I mean, I don't know if you've been involved or been party to any forms of discussion or already, but how do you see that kind of like moving forward in a talk way within the council? I mean, I know they've set up some race equality group or something like that.
Yeah, is that me you're addressing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was what's called, I think it's a race disparity report. It was done before I was appointed, but it basically said, in relation to its own staff, Manchester City Council is not doing enough in terms of race. They've got what's called snowy white peaks. So what they mean by that is the higher you go up an organisation, the more all white it becomes, until you get to the right at the top, and there's no black people at all. So you go into a building and you notice the cleaners are black, and the lower paid staff are black. But as you go up, all the black people disappear, and that has to stop. I mean, I've talked to lots of experienced black people who have had to take race discrimination cases against their employers in Manchester, and it just seems to be not so much the way things are, but nearly every senior black person I know has had some kind of race discrimination against them that has inhibited their career. And a lot of it is what I would call institutional racism. Mm-hmm. And it's that, and Manchester has acknowledged that it isn't doing enough, but I don't feel that it's done the step between saying, yeah, we're not doing enough. The next step is, okay, how are we going to rectify the problems that we ourselves have identified? And that's where I think there's a problem. It's not enough to wring your hands and go, oh, it's terrible. Oh, we really should do more. There's just too much hand wringing and not enough action.
For a Labour
So
council.
Yeah. There's an acknowledgement that they haven't done enough. There's an acknowledgement that Black staff, their career progression is stalled, but there doesn't seem to be the same willingness to do the work necessary to move this. So you have a situation where some Black staff who are members of unions.
Legacy 90.1.
Sorry about that, Marcia. You were just saying there's a situation. Welcome back. You're answering to the search engine.
No,
just
some Black staff
just filling us in on changes in the Manchester Council. She gave us the analogy or the vision of snowy white mountains, as in the more you go up to the top of the council, the more white it gets. And she was just telling us about changes needs to happen. You go in there, you'll see cleaners, but as you go further up, it becomes all icebergy.
Yeah, so some organisations like Unison, the union, actually have meetings for Black staff because it's acknowledged that they suffer from particular discrimination. And when people have gone to the meetings, their white colleagues have said, why are you going to a Black members meeting? We don't have white members meetings. And failing to understand that all the other meetings are white members meetings. You know, people not being given time off to go to meetings which they're entitled to go to. And it's just a culture of failing to understand that this is not a level playing field. You know, people saying things like, I don't see colour. I heard someone say that actually in Inner Hustings when being selected to be a councillor or selected to be shortlisted to be a councillor, she was asked about race and she said, I don't see colour. And half the people in the room were Black or Asian. And the answer to that is, if you don't see colour, you're not seeing me. What people are doing when they say that is they are talking about the world as they wish it were, rather than the world as it actually is. If you pretend racism doesn't exist by saying I don't see colour, you're doing a disservice to Black people who are currently suffering from racism. You know, Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck just because he didn't like him. It didn't have anything to do with him being Black. It's like, yes, I think it did. And it's that constantly having to explain. For instance, you ask just about any Black person in the UK whether Meghan Markle suffered from racism, and as I think just about everybody would say yes. And yet a lot of white people go, oh, no, it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of the other, and coming up with all these other reasons when, you know, we know it was racism. When their child was born, Danny Baker published a picture of two adults holding a monkey.
Yeah, I remember that.
When he was fired, he was like, oh, no, it wasn't that. Has he ever published a picture of a monkey when any other royal baby was born? Answer, no.
Totally agreement and an agreement there. And that leads me to a question that I've got. I was going to ask a question, but there's a question that's come very similar with it. And it says, what challenges will being a Black woman councillor bring?
Oh, it's already bringing the challenges. I think one is everyone assuming, or certain other people assuming, that you are the expert on all things Black. And it's a bit lazy by thinking, oh, well, Marcia, you tell us what the entire Black community believes. And my answer is, go and talk to them all. Don't assume I know everything about everybody. There is assumption of treating Black people a little bit tribally. You know, she's a tribal elder. She will tell us what her people believe. No, I'm just one person. Yes, I may be elected, but I wasn't elected to serve the whole Black community. I was elected for Ancoats and Beswick. However, at the same time, I see my role as trying to support the Black community and trying to act as a conduit. You know, what do you want me to talk to the council about? What are the issues in our community? But I do not see myself as speaking on behalf of the community. I hope I can be a voice for people to tell me what they need and for me to pass it on. But I'm not the expert on everything. Should
be pleased that you are willing to have the conversations, like you say, not to totally train them. You know, what's that book? Why I'm No Longer Speaking to White People. But,
Yes.
but not.
Oh, I'd have to recommend that book to a lot of people.
You know, but you are, but in the right type of arena, the right type of setup with a, I don't know, willingness to acknowledge where things need to be acknowledged and changed. And
yeah, the first thing for me is it can't be just me. We need a posse going in there. We need 9, 10, 11 councillors. And in order to get that, we have to keep pushing, because nobody is going to give us 9, 10, 11 seats. It's about, you know, for every 5 people who join the pipeline project, 1 or 2 might think, no, this is not for me. And that's fine. But we need numbers so that eventually some people actually stay the course and say, yes, I'll keep going. Because it's not always easy, but it is rewarding in the end. So for me, it's about numbers. It's all about as many as we can get. There are some people who see, you know, they pull up the ladder behind them and they're happy to be the only one. I do not want to be the only one. It's a lonely place to be.
Yes. Just got another, well, I've got a couple there, but we'll go with this one because it kind of like says what you just said then. It says, huge congratulations, Marcia. Well done for your hard work and persistence. Your turn now, Councillor Shah. That's from Lorna.
Oh, hi, Lorna, yeah.
So that's the next level.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
The other one is, what can people get from you as a Black councillor that they can't get from a white councillor?
In theory, nothing. In theory, you should be able to get the same thing from all of your councillors. But in practice, what I'm finding is, one of the things I've said as soon as I've been elected is there should be a lead member for Windrush. So you have lead members, which are councillors with special responsibility. There's one for mental health, there's one for cycling, there's, you know, a few others. But as far as I know, there hasn't been any specific provision from Manchester City Council for people who have suffered under the hostile environment. And this is despite the fact that Lucy Powell told me a couple of years ago that she has more Windrush cases than any other MP in the country. So it's not Tottenham, it's not Brixton, not Haringey, it's Manchester Central, Lucy Powell's constituency, where there are more Windrush cases, where people are having their doors broken down and dragged off to immigration detention centres, being put on, you know, deportation flights and possibly having last-minute reprieve. You may have seen yesterday's Guardian, Anthony Brown. There was a feature about him.
Yes.
Anthony Brown has been under threat of deportation for nearly his entire adult life. Can you imagine what that must be like, waking up every day thinking, is this the day they're going to grab me? And in theory, you could talk to any councillor about it, but in practice, why hasn't anything been done? Why are there no services? I mean, Andy Burnham has just been re-elected as Manchester Mayor. Greater Manchester Mayor. When I went to one of his events and asked what he'd done for Windrush, he said, and I quote, "I'll put my hand up. I've done nothing, but I will do more." Now, without me asking that question, how would we know? Now he's been re-elected, I'll be going to chat to Andy Burnham and saying, what are you going to... Greater Manchester has a lot of people who are, and we're talking suffering, really suffering. And I don't want to go into detail about one particular case because I don't have permission from the family. But the woman in question died. What happened was so bad that it killed her. She died. This is life and death for some people. The difference, firstly, there's a big thing about managing expectations. It's just me, you know, me one, I'm a little butter pan. So elected councillor though I may be, I can't do everything. And quite often when you're the only one, people go, oh, well, she didn't do anything. She didn't do this and she didn't do that and she didn't do the other. And it's like, but there's only me. So I can only do so much as one person. And that's why the pipeline project is so important. The biggest thing I can do is bring other people on so that it's not just me.
Definitely. And I'm sure, I mean, we are open, you know, and with yourself, Sharp, Pipeline Project, if, you know. Yeah,
what about you, Anthony Downer? You're a voice of the community, articulate man, you know. Are you going to come along?
This is my councillor bit here. And then I do my other, then I do my other little things that I do in supporting people in that. I was in a school today actually with a parent whose child needed some support, and yeah, that's sad, you know, because I do that a lot, and it's just like I do this, I don't get paid for much of that I do. There's a need there. It's very difficult when you hear some of the stresses that some of these parents are going through and there's some basic issues that it should never have got to those positions. So yeah, it'd be just great to know, have that comfortability of going to somebody and speaking to them who has a track record of doing things and getting things done. And I mean, since I've known you, I've seen you do that, you know. So and it gives you another level of confidence in somebody as a local councillor. Like I've put on the paper, there's a lot of councillors that I have invited to come on this particular show. I can't speak for the whole Legacy radio, and it's been quite difficult unless there's been issues that have gone on in the community where sadly, if there's been a tragedy or death or a rise in knife crime or something else, then we will get people coming on the station. But some of the things that you've talked about this evening, I think it needs to be a regular part of a community discussion and a regular part of a community radio. I mean, personally, I mean, it'd be great if you had your own show on here and people could call the councillor.
The councillor speaks. But another thing that really is bugging me is this joint enterprise. So, you know, a few years ago in Moss Side, a young man was sadly murdered. One person stabbed him, but 13 people went down for a total of 148 years. And they're going after our young men with joint enterprise. If you were there, then you're considered to be jointly doing it with that person. And 75% of the people who are convicted for joint enterprise are young black men. And when they're convicted, they get longer sentences than people who actually did the murder. So you get one man, for instance, white man, strangles his wife. He gets 8 years. Somebody who was there but didn't do anything, joint enterprise, 21 years. It just seems like a way of clearing up. You know, basically, you get a lot of arrests in one go. One murder, 12 convictions. Yay, result.
Yeah.
I'm not saying any of the young men were angels, but there is no requirement on them to be angels. They are deserving of justice, and it is not justice to send somebody down for 12, 13, 14 years just because they were there when a fight was taking place.
Yeah, we had some of the parents of some of those young people in the station when around, well, it was after the sentencing took place, and there was a time during the case, and yes, it was very sad to listen to some of the parents and the loss that they were going through, and statements that were made about these children and how they were talked about, and
yeah, and if that had been somewhere else, one wonders, but because it was in Moss Side, there was a narrative that they could come up with, like Moss Side, gang violence, yada yada yada. They must be all guilty. Bang, lock them up forever. They were doing things like looking on their Facebook pages and saying, "Oh, look, they like that on the Facebook page. Obviously, a gang sign. That's proof they're in a gang. Bang, lock them up." When you heard that kind of evidence, I think people look at themselves and think, "You can't be serious. No one's going to convict on this," but they got convicted.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's quite a few organizations. I know, oh gosh, his name now, from Manchester University. I think he actually wrote a book on the joint enterprise and the issues around that, and that they've been doing some absolutely amazing work to try and overturn those things and really to even get a total change.
It's really, really hard to get those convictions overturned. It's virtually, very few of them are ever overturned.
Definitely. Can I just ask Sharlene? I know you did a show the other month.
Yeah, we did a performance for Stuart Lawrence. the loss for his brother Stephen Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen some of the performances, and they're absolutely brilliant, and that is another great way of channeling feelings, views. And I think it's a great way to even get people into and thinking about politics.
Yeah, definitely, because a lot of the youth didn't know anything at all about Stuart Lawrence, Stephen Lawrence, so it was really good for them to learn, you know, not just do the performance, but also learn about what happened with Stephen Lawrence. And even though the issues they feel they face now, which I can understand, are a little bit different to what they had then, it's still not changed. It's, you know, it's kind of gone from white guys killing the blacks to the blacks killing each other, but it's not getting they're not getting penalized proper enough or anything like that. There's young boys killing each other, and they're actually just it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's just nothing. So that's their problem. But it was interesting to see all that you know, the GMP do need to do more, and there is more. They need to put in more input and get involved with their voice. So yeah, with the politics now, they're thinking, a lot of them, more of them are thinking, because through the Stuart Lawrence, we've got to speak to more of the police as well. So they're more like thinking, I want to join the police. There's a lot of the youth now that wouldn't have thought about joining the police or anything like that, and are wanting to do that now through that performance.
Excellent. And for you, what is the, I don't know, if you were to say 3 main conversations that need to be put at the forefront for young people to be discussed, what would they be?
I think the 3 main probably, obviously the main ones is the crime, social media, and how, you know, even adults are using it and needs to be addressed. And I'd say knowing the opportunities. At the moment, I see a lot of people doing a lot of coursework, and we've got this course going on, and we've got that course going on, and it's great, and it's really great, but there's just too many courses. You know, we need to be showing them what else they can do in the hobbies, because a lot of them go to work and go to college, don't want to finish that and then just go and do the coursework, you know. So using the hobbies wisely and giving back to the community and doing stuff like that. So I'd say giving back to the community, social media, and the crime. Really.
So do you mean like training? They need more training rather than doing the courses. They need practical training.
Yeah, just real life
skills.
Real life skills, what's going on in the communities every day, and you know, that's hitting home, because there's we've got a lot of it. We've got a lot of the other around us, but I don't think we've got a lot more down to earth. And one thing that the youth have said to me that I think they relate to me more, because I will show that my mistakes, and I show that where some of the adults have come as if they haven't had any mistakes. So, and I think that's one thing that makes them relate to me, to show, you know, I've made the same mistakes, I get it. Do you know what I mean? So basically training on how try not to make them make the same mistakes, and that there is choices, and I get why you'd make that mistake, but don't, you know, you can do this as well. So that kind of real life training is what I'm talking about.
Brilliant, excellent. I'm looking forward to you coming back on here, and I'll get all your name right and everything else, and come on with some of your posse, and let's have
looking forward to. We keep adding your legacy. You can't see you, like, when you're getting us on.
Yeah, like I say, my sister spoke to me about it a while ago. Marcia, yeah, I don't know, man. Do you know what? It's like, I know you're broad and shoulders, and you're dealing with challenges and things like that. But like you said, I mean, you're okay to say, you're a person who will say no, won't you? If
I have to be. I think it's a huge thing for our communities, self-care. quite often people burn out because they see so many things that desperately need doing, and they think, I have to do it and I have to do that, and they say yes to everything. And before you know it, they are worn out, they are tired. I think back to my friend Asia Shah, and she was practically working 24 hours a day by the time she died. So many people were dying, families being called, you know. Although she was Muslim, she worked for Christian families. If they died at 4 in the morning, she was at the hospital at 4 in the morning. And it was non-stop. And I don't know if that's what killed her, but that hemorrhage that she had, I mean, this was a year of just non-stop helping bereaved families over COVID. And she would help anybody and everybody. And it really made me think after she passed, self-care. You can't, and please don't anyone think I'm saying she worked herself to death, but we have to take time out to look after ourselves. So today, I mean, it's a hard day with council. I made a point, I'm going to walk the dog. I need to get outside. I need to get some fresh air, get in a park. And ultimately, you have to stop and say, this is as much as I can do today. And I'm going, normally I would sit down. Now I'm stood up because I know my hips can't take more than an hour of sitting down. And in the past, I'd have thought, oh, it'd be rude to stand up. And it's like, no, I'm just standing up. Self-care is crucial because you're no use to anybody if you're burnt out after the first 6 months.
Definitely. Okay, text here that says from 796 says Marcia for Prime Minister.
Not a chance. I cannot see. What, in Downing Street? I couldn't stand the wallpaper.
Well, you might be able to get, what is it, 60 grand to renovate it?
It's 30 grand a year, so it's like, well, I get a sofa this year, next year, you know, 30 grand a year for renovation, and he couldn't satisfy with that.
A year. What kind of foolishness is that? What do you need to change in a year for £30,000? Yeah, can you? What?
It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling.
I'm sure they must have a friend that they can probably buy something, get the receipt, and use the money to go and have a holiday on the island.
It was £800 a roll.
Pathetic.
One roll of wallpaper. And what's even worse is when you see the pictures. Have you seen the pictures of the room?
No.
It's hideous.
But the thing is, it makes you think if that's happening and that's okay, like £30,000 a year to redecorate is thought to be okay, then where is other money actually going that we're not aware about? Because it's only through this that I actually knew that they actually paid that kind of money to decorate.
Same here. I had no idea. And in some ways, that's bad and not so bad. What's really bad is Boris Johnson's mates getting contracts for 160, 170 million to supply PPE during COVID, and they didn't even supply the PPE, and people died.
Yeah.
You know, 130,000 people died in this country. At one point, people were dying at 1,000 people a day were dying. This isn't just some joke about wallpaper. This is killing people so that their mates can get the contracts. It was appalling. The vaccine's working because the NHS is delivering it. You hire your mate and then fling them some government contract. It's like, oh no, we can't do normal procurement procedures because it's an emergency. And therefore I have to give all the contracts to my mates who have no experience whatsoever in this area and who messed it up. And they didn't just mess it up, they messed it up and people died. And people didn't just die, it was our communities who took the brunt of the deaths.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question before we go to the break, and then we'll come back and do the other. Okay, I think this is following from the other one. It says, oh gosh, coming in now. Why have we never seen councillors from our community coming to talk and encourage us like this? And that's from 674.
Are you asking me to answer that one?
Well,
I don't know. I cannot speak for them. All I can do is speak for myself. Firstly, it's hard to get to become a councillor in the first place. Once you do become a councillor, there is so much work to be done. I'm literally, I had my induction on Monday. It's now Thursday. I have so much to learn. But the one thing that is this, I got into this because I said there needs to be more Black councillors. I didn't even want to be a councillor, but I thought, if I'm telling people, let's have a training course to train people as councillors, but I don't want to do it, then no one's going to come, no one's going to join in. I'm like, okay, I'll do it as well. We'll do it together. I would love to be in a position where I can step down because I can say, yeah, Charlene's there, so-and-so's there, so-and-so's there. I'll be here if you need someone to ring for a bit of expertise. But I'm retired. I'm sitting in my yard now. I'm here because nobody else is, but hopefully, because I don't see this as something I want to do forever. I look at somebody like Diane Abbott and I am filled with admiration of that woman, but I don't know how she put up with what she put up with for 35 years. The last few years, she has had more abuse than half of all the abuse on Twitter aimed at female MPs went to her. One woman, Diane Abbott, and that was because she was a successful Black woman. And you think, ooh, can I deal with that? But I think we can deal with anything if we're a posse, if there's a group of us. It's when it's one person out there on their own, you know, you can be cut down so easily. So I just want to, I love Manchester, and I wasn't born here. I chose to move here. I got here and I thought, I love this place. The first time I set foot in the steam room at Moss Side Leisure Centre, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And I felt like I was at home. You know, there was some Black woman come to me, giving me a piece of watermelon and saying, have you given your life to the Lord Jesus Christ? And I thought, only in Moss Side. Only in Moss Side.
I think sometimes it can be, I don't know, because I haven't spoken to that much in councillors in the sense of Black councillors or from African background, but maybe the loneliness is in line with the text that came in before, that there's not many who come and have the conversation, you know, acknowledge that there's underlying frustrations in the community that sometimes people just want to have a conversation about. You might not even be able to do anything about it today. You might even have to put in place and not see any yield for years, but have the conversation, acknowledge that it exists.
And that's the big thing. A lot of people think, oh, your job as a counsellor is to solve everyone's problems. Often you can't. All you can do is listen. When I was told about Sharlene, and it was your sister who told me about Sharlene, the next day I went down and knocked on her door. And I think she was surprised to see me. And it might not be that I could solve every problem, but I was there. And there was a Black family who lived just around the corner. And I knocked on their door and said, will you vote for me? And they said, no, we're not voting for you because we've never seen any councillors come round here. And we've never seen, and we've never seen, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. This went on for half an hour. They had a full-on rant. And at the end of the half an hour, I said, I'm here and I'm listening. Will you vote for me? And they said, yes. And it was because I was listening. It makes such a big difference if you actually, and this happened with a lot of white people as well. I had one man, he came out of his house, he was wearing jeans, from the waist up he was naked with a whole heap of tattoos and a beer gut that was looking dangerous. And I said, oh, hello, I'm your candidate. And he said, no, and he slammed the door in my face. And I thought, oh, geez. So I went on to the next door, and then he came out of his house and he came stomping over to me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dead. And he said, I've lived here for 30 years and I've never seen a local councillor knock on my door. Yeah. And after about 5 minutes of ranting, he said he'd be voting for me. He said, I've always voted Labour, but I feel you're taking us for granted. And it's that bit about just getting out there and knocking on doors. Ancoats and Beswick was supposed to be a marginal ward. It was supposed to be that tight between me and the Lib Dem. I knocked on doors and people said, we ain't seen no Lib Dems around here. I knocked on doors till my feet hurt. And in the end, I got 2,050 votes. The Lib Dem candidate got 700. Tory got about 300. If you go and see people, you roll your sleeves up and you say, I'm here. I might not be able to help, but I will listen and I will do my best. People respond. The Labour Party nationally are wondering why they lost Hartlepool. You parachuted in some candidate from OYO who nobody knew. If you'd have got somebody local, had a proper hustings, but if you just parachute someone in and nobody knows them, people are going to get annoyed.
And we'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy. Legacy.
Have you missed?
I'm just gonna get a drink of water. Back in a second.
I'll have a chat with Sharlene.
Hey.
Hi. So the event that you did with the music, did it have, what was the theme of that?
The last one with Stuart Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly Stephen Lawrence. That's what it was about. And you said a lot of the young people weren't aware of what had happened with.
No, a lot of them, and some of them had touched base in it in school, and they briefly, but they never knew a lot about it. So they got first-hand knowledge of it because they actually spoke to his brother Stuart Lawrence, and he spoke about how it is for the family since then, and how, you know, the pain that they're still facing, and the changes that there's some change that's come from it, but they're still working on a lot more changes still.
Yeah. So
it was interesting for the youth to relate that with what's happening today with them in their society and their issues at the moment. So it's made them more empowered to make a difference, not just with the music or artists, but to go out here and actually talk. So we'll be going on to radio. I hope I'm allowed to say Radio Diamond. So we'll be having a show there. So hopefully we can have you on there this time and interview you. And
yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Yeah, definitely.
And we're going to be talking. We started off on Instagram talking about hitting certain issues, but the radio, this is where we're coming, and we're going to be coming real. There's going to be a lot of people that probably be upset, but you know, you're going to have to ruffle feathers. Those birds don't fly, and you know, there's got to be, you know, we're coming with certain things are going to be different to what everybody else is saying, and there's going to be some people that don't like it. But it's the youth speaking their truth, and we're going to allow them to do that always with MGTY.
But I think that I totally agree. I think with the conversation, I'm very much up for having the talk. You know, talk doesn't kill you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's easy, especially you set out the kind of level of discussion and how that should take place, and it's two-way conversation. You know, you can give your talk or your shout, but you know, you've also got to be willing, if somebody's coming back with something that you haven't got an answer for, you gotta listen or question or delve even deeper into what's happening or why it's happening.
You have to listen and take it on board, and don't just be stubborn and just be in your way. Listen to where another person is coming from, and it's the only way we're going to have a development and change. And like Marcia, I don't always have the answers or anything, so that's the whole point of collaborating with other organisations. So I can contact maybe Kimo. Kimo is, you know, someone who I relate to a lot, and he's someone who I inspire to anyway. So people like him, and Angela Sweeney, she's another one that I always could. I know there's people like that, but if I haven't got the answer, I can go to them and I can say, I don't. Otis, another one. These are the people that, you know, I look up to. I don't get to speak to them much, but I know that when I'm there, when I need something, I can go to them and say, look, this youth has come to me. What do I say now? What do you think of this? And they'll advise me, or they'll even come on, speak for themselves on the shows or stuff like that, which is the whole point of the radio shows, to get other people in. You know, everybody's allowed to come on and say the view and have their own conversation with the youth. So
that's really positive. That, and I know that of TAP. I mean, I've been doing a show with TAP now for nearly 2 years. On here, they're here every month, and they're on not next week, the week after. So yeah, and they're very, very supportive, and they've been very open in sharing the development of TAP from its creation, coming on, and they're very open. I love the way that they encourage each other, challenge each other, and move forward. Okay, we are back, and it is a search engine. Currently speaking with Sharlene Small from MGTY,
Manchester's Got
Talent Youth, and Councillor Marcia Hutchinson from Ancoats and Beswick. It's not what I put up on here. It's been kind of upsy daisy backwardsy day for me. Well, here we go. Here's one. Very interesting show. Thank you for breaking down the whole process. Why do we have councillors in Moss Side who remain for such a long time? And that's from Naomi. We're getting controversial to the end now. Why? Yeah, I mean, is that? Do you know what? I've said it on a few occasions. He's gone now, but Tony Lloyd was here forever. He was a councillor, then he was MP, then he was the mayor, then he was police commissioner. And this is just off me. I think something went down between him and Andy. Yeah, that Andy was more a celebrity type than him. So a deal was made where he could go off and get his MP thing in Rochdale, and this is maybe just mega conspiracy theories and stuff. But councillors talk a lot about bringing the youth through. Yeah, it's important for young people to get into politics. But just like Naomi was saying, we've had, especially in this area, like I said, Tony Lloyd was in his position for the longest time. Councillor Wanters was in his position for the longest time. Councillor Cox, again, was in their positions for the longest time, talking about bringing you through, but not going on to other things themselves. I mean, maybe that's just something that you can't speak to.
Yeah, it's the process of selecting councillors means that a councillor is in position for 2, 3 or 4 years, depending on how many votes they got. At the end of that period, they can either be reselected to fight again, or someone can deselect them. It's considered a hostile thing to do, to deselect a sitting councillor. So the people who choose the person who goes ahead to be councillor are the branch members. So the people who make a decision as to who is your councillor are members of the Labour Party who live in Moss Side. So in order to choose who is the candidate, and Moss Side is probably the safest Labour seat in the country, you have to be a member of the branch. And it's as simple as that. If you want to have a decision about who is your Labour candidate, and whoever is the Labour candidate is going to win.
So the community has to be a member of the branch, not necessarily a member of the Labour Party.
Yeah, if you're a member of the Labour Party, you're automatically a member of the branch where you live. So when you join the Labour Party, it takes your postcode, it'll say, right, you're in Moss Side, you're a member of Moss Side branch. And you just need to go to the meeting where they decide who is going to be that candidate. They've made it quite hard in some ways, so you have to have been a member for a few months before you can vote at that meeting. You can't just join and then vote the next week, partly because there was some dodginess that went on in Scotland a while back.
But can you be a member of the branch and not a member of the party?
No, it's the same thing.
Okay.
You're a member of the party and they allocate you to your local branch.
Right. And it's how much is it a month to be a member now?
If you're fully employed, I think it's about £4 a month. If you're under 18, this is the biggie, it's £3 a year. So sign up to Picnic M. 14 to 18.
But then you can't vote. But you can't. Can they still have a vote then?
Oh yes, they can. And this is how they deselected me this is how they stopped me getting selected in Whalley Range. At the selection meeting, a whole heap of Picnic them come to the meeting home I never see before, I may never see again. And they vote for the other person. They never vote for me. So you have to take a leaf out of the other people's books. Serious, sign up to Picnic M. If they're between 14 and 18, it's £3 odd a year. You can afford that. Sign them up because they get the same vote as everybody else. If you're unemployed, I think it's £2. Sorry?
Can you get funding for that?
No, you definitely cannot pay for someone else's membership. That's a big disciplinary business.
But what if, but when you're saying somebody else's, some of these are children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these children not necessarily have got their funds themselves.
Each membership has to be paid for by a different bank account.
Okay.
And you can open a bank account for a child from about 14. I think I got my children bank accounts from about 14.
That's interesting.
There are some wards, I won't necessarily name them because God knows how much wrist slapping I'm going to get for this. Some wards where there are not many members, the number of people who turned up to the meeting to vote for who was going to be the next councillor was 5. 5 people made the choice as to who was going to be the next councillor. So if you could get more than 5 people to join, i.e. if you could get 6 people to join, the following year, you could decide. Now, some wards are big. Some wards like Whalley Range, where I used to live, 40, 50 people are turning up to the meeting. But some wards are tiny. They just don't have many members. So, it's not that hard to get 5, 6 people.
And I suppose it's also about the community organising, isn't it? Because some places, like when you get in community forums, because I know TAP, I'm trying to put together a community forum. I don't know if they're still involved in that, but again, getting more people involved. But I think,
and
again,
this is what I keep saying to people: join the Labour Party, not because you like Keir Starmer or because you like the Labour Party or any of those things. Join so that you can pick your next councillor. That's why you need to join. So you can pick the person who goes forward to be not your next councillor. And yeah, some of the meetings are boring and some of it's a bit, on behalf of the committee, point of order, but quite often they make it boring, so people leave. You have to be willing to do a bit of the shoe leather. I feel like one of those I didn't get where I was today by not being bored. Sometimes the meetings are a bit weird.
Here's a question here, Marcia. Is there a reason for boundaries such as where the Whitworth is now and Princess Road bus depot land now being moved without real community consultation?
That's a good question, and it's a biggie. Again, it was before my time, and I'm not from Moss Side, but what I hear, and I don't have the facts on this, is that the Whitworth is now in Ardwick. Ward boundaries are all about population numbers. So in theory, the same number of people should live in each ward. So when lots and lots of people move into the city centre, for instance, the ward boundaries have changed because roughly 10,000 people live in each ward. So 3 councillors. So if lots of people move into a ward, they redraw the boundaries, and they do that roughly once every 10 years after the census. So if the census shows that, 5,000 more people have moved into Piccadilly, then it becomes a ward. However, nobody lives in Whitworth Park. So I don't see any reason why the boundary was changed to take Whitworth Park out of Moss Side. I do not know why that happened. Same thing back in the day. Alexandra Park was part of Moss Side, and look, suddenly that turned into Whalley Range. A lot of these decisions, the ways that they were made are, for want of a better word, opaque. Who knows how, why, who did it, why it was done? It's all like you can never find out. And often it's only the people who've been councillors for years start to dig and find that kind of information. But I know a lot of people in Moss Side were really, really annoyed about the Whitworth Park being taken out of Moss Side, because suddenly, it looks like Moss Side is just being sliced off. This bit going to Rusholme, that bit going to Whalley Range, that bit going to Ardwick, and where's the other bit? Fallowfield. And by the time it's finished, there's nothing left.
No, it's not good. Okay, let's just say the last 2 because we're running out of time. One says, thank you very much, Councillor Marcia Hutchinson. We need more talk like this. One of my questions actually on my thing, which I put out there, was, will your relationship with Legacy Radio change now that you're a councillor?
Hopefully I'll be here more often.
I hope so. I do hope so. And because I think there's so much, like I said, in the sense of the people just need to have more but have more knowledge of how much the council actually influence what's going on in their lives, from education to health to everywhere, so it'd be great to be able to break down those areas, planning, how far they actually do plan ahead, that house that came up there didn't just happen and wasn't just planned last week, so yeah. Here we go. Butterfly Sue wants to know, I've been trying to get hold of Gorton MP but had no luck. Why is it not possible? My true friends say I'm strong, but I feel so tired fighting for my rights.
So the Gorton MP is Afzal Khan. He has an office. You should be able to get got in touch with his office. One thing councillors are is very, very local. I'm Anne Coates-and-Beswick. The MP for that area is Lucy Powell. So I'm not even allowed to mess about in Gorton. If I try and get involved in someone else's ward, it's like, butt out. Your ward is Anne Coates-and-Beswick. Go sit yourself down in Anne Coates-and-Beswick.
But does that change when you're on the same portfolio?
It depends. So the councillors choose a portfolio to go for, like planning, health, housing, and so on. If you're on housing, you're on housing across the whole of the city. So yeah, you're on a portfolio for the whole city, but in your ward, you can cover everything in your ward. That was one of the things they told us on the training that we went on Monday, our induction. It's like, for your ward, you can chat anything you want about your ward, but don't go straying into somebody else's ward. That upsets people.
But if you are on a portfolio on a specific topic like children's and families,
so if I'm on highways, then I can deal with highways across the whole city.
Across the whole city. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. Great show with both ladies, and that's from Joe. Thank you very much for that, Joe. That's it, guys. We've gone out of time. It's actually gone very, very quickly, and I'm very interested. And I know there's a lot more paths and roads that we could have gone down, and I hope we're going to have the opportunity to do that. And I sincerely would like, not just, obviously, I'm not just touting for this show, the search engine, but for the station, for us to have these conversations with you, Marcia, because as said by the text. Says, it's been a while, and this is the kind of conversation, the kind of food that we need to be hearing, and get other people involved in the conversation to actually, those who are willing to talk, say that there are other councillors that are understanding the situation, the conversation. Let's get them involved, and I don't know, or maybe it's not. We need to just, I don't know.
You just have to keep pushing. Councillors, I think I'm here now because it's my first week, so I haven't been to many meetings. If you call me in a couple of months, I'll probably be way too much on. You managed to grab me before I know what's what. But I'll keep asking, pushing the other councillors. You keep asking me. Like I've turned up at Sharlene's house. She's like, "What? You're at my house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm excited."
Well, I've got I know Sharlene now, and I know she's part of your ward, so I know you've got an obligation there. So I'll send my questions via Sharlene. Okay, then. Any last words from both of you then?
I'd just like to say thank you to Marcia and yourself, Legacy, for having me on here, and I'm looking forward to hopefully, what was your show that you said in Jamaica?
Talk Up Ute in Jamaica.
I'm looking for, I'm going to be going up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some of that with you. And I'm also looking forward to learning more with Marcia as well. So excellent. Yeah, and I'd also say to the community, like I said, listening to Marcia, I'm not saying you have to vote for Labour, but just learn a little bit more about having a voice. It does make a difference, and it does make a change. And
I'm just really pleased. I'm really pleased to be on here. Thanks for inviting me, Anthony. It's just so heartening to see people like Sharlene who are getting up there and doing things. And it's why I do what I do, because every so often you come across someone and you think, yes, and I grab that one. Because it's about all of us. It's definitely not just me. Can't do this on my own. I'm wanting to bring on as many people as I can. At least 12. That's literally, I'm looking at 12.
Wow.
And then we've got representation.
I see more than 12 hovering around Sharlene on MGTY.
MGTY, yeah, there's like 60 of us.
60, so got a pickings there. That's very interesting. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll talk and we'll put some dates in the diary. That's the best way to deal with councillors, really, isn't it? Get something in the diary.
Yeah, get it in the diary and then they're done.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you very much. You take care and speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
See ya. Bye. Yes, and there we had Marcia Hutchinson, new councillor. Very frank there, very clear in her actions, her future, how she sees a lot that's going on. Quite refreshing chat. And also Sharlene Small's MGTY. We will be speaking again. So thank you very much. That's it for the search engine for this week. Next week, I'm speaking. Oh gosh, I haven't even got the name in front of me. It's a young lady who actually she's a journalist, runs her own magazine. I haven't got the information totally in front of me. I should have been more prepared. Forgive me. And then the week after that, we'll be talking to Tap Talks. So yeah, stay tuned. Take care. Have a great weekend, and I shall see you again. Bye.